I went through a period of time where I did not want to sit down at my desk. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to get things done. I felt so stressed out whenever I was at my desk that even just being in my office felt stressful. And it was like I was trying to regulate my nervous system. I was trying to get myself to a place where I didn't feel completely stressed out every time I was working. And I found some incredible techniques that helped me get there and helped me even 2x my output. I want to share all of that with you today, so make sure to stick around. If you feel like you're smart, you're ambitious, you're driven, but lately work is feeling like a slog, this episode is for you. I'm going to tell you exactly how to reach your big goals when you feel like you're stuck in a fog. I'm going to show you how I reset my environment so that I could get back to deep work and intense focus. And just a quick disclaimer, this episode is not for beginners. This is for those of you who are already high performers and you want to perform at an even higher level. I'm looking for the people who are operating at like an A- right now and want to get to an A+. Let's dive right in. So today I want to talk all about environment. I think that our environment has an outsized impact on how we perform, and it's something that we don't pay much attention to. If you've heard me talk about work like you work out, it's my framework that optimizes your workday based on your workout style. And that will help get you so much further. You'll look at how you like to exercise and mimic that over in your workday. But this is even a deeper level of setting up your environment to cue your brain that it's time to work. So the first thing I want to point out with your environment is that in today's context of working from home with the pandemic, everything else, we tend to do the wrong context for the wrong area. We're working in the areas where we should be eating. We're working in the areas where we should be sleeping. We're scrolling on our phones in the areas where we should be working. And so our brain doesn't have the context of what needs to be happening in this space, in this moment. It's all mixed up. And so the first thing you can do is be really strategic about where you physically put your body when you're doing certain activities. If you're resting, put your body in your bed where your brain tells it we're resting. If you're eating, put your body in your kitchen. If you have the ability in your space to have a separate work area, put your body in that work area so that your brain knows that we're working. What I found that I was doing is I would be working at my desk and then I'd get tired or burned out or maybe a little annoyed at something. And then I'd start scrolling at my desk and I would be checked out. What I needed was rest, but what I was doing is doom scrolling. And so my brain learned the context of this is a space where sometimes we focus, but sometimes we're not focused. We're just doom scrolling. So when I sat down to my desk, I didn't feel amped, ready to go, totally engaged, totally focused. So I tried an experiment just for a couple of weeks. It felt a little bit silly, but I would encourage you to try this experiment as well. I tried an experiment where I only sat at my desk if I was working. As soon as I started to get checked out, as soon as I started to pull out my phone, I would stand up and I would move. Actually, I have a chair over to the side here, so that would be where I would go. I would sit in that chair. I tried to reprogram my brain that when I'm sitting at my desk, we are working. This is focus mode. This is work mode. And can I tell you, the stress that I was experiencing when I would walk up to my desk, it melted away. Whenever I sat down at my desk, I felt so much more focused, so much more ready to execute. So if you have this ability, I highly, highly recommend make your workspace a workspace. As soon as you start to get checked out, as soon as you start to get tired, as soon as you start to doom scroll, take yourself someplace else. Maybe tuck yourself into a place where you know that you can rest, where you know that you can check out a little bit. Again, if you follow my work like you work out process, I'm a really big fan of working and resting, working and resting. If you're a strength trainer, that's what you do in your workouts. If you're a CrossFitter, that's what you do in your workouts. If you do high intensity interval training, that's how you do your workouts. And you can stack all these work time, break time, work time, break time, work time, break time. You can stack them together and get so much more done versus what so many of us do, which is work time, work time, work time, work time, work time, insist that we try to be focused and then like burn out at the end of the day. When you give yourself these strategic breaks in between your work sessions, you're going to get more done. You're going to be more focused and you'll feel more energized at the end of the day, which is so great because then you can bring some energy into your personal life. The second context cue that can be really helpful for your brain is the clothes that you wear. I'm going to talk more about alter egos in a different video. But for right now, I want you to think about how you clue your brain that it's time to work. So I quit my corporate job in 2018 and I started working from home full time. And whenever I was working, I don't know why I adopted this, but this became a habit that I always had. Whenever I was working and I was ready to be on, I was ready to be fired up, I would wear pants with a button and a zipper. That was my cue that I was dressed. And I would feel that I was wearing pants with a button and zipper. Nobody else could tell. You've never seen my legs. My legs are always hiding under my desk, but I knew. And that was a cue to my brain that we are working. People who have an alter ego sometimes have something that they wear, whether it's a blazer or glasses or something that cues them that they're in work mode. And I highly recommend you adopt this as well. It doesn't have to be buttons and a zipper like what I do, but it can be something that cues to you that we're working. This is our focused mode. This gives your brain context for what's happening and it helps it click into that mode much more easily. Okay, so far we've talked about working when you're working. When you sit at your desk, you're focused. When you start to become not focused, which all of us do, and I highly recommend taking a break, get away from your desk, go someplace else so that your brain doesn't get confused about what we do in this context. And then number 2, dress the part. Have specific clothes that cue your brain of what you're doing. It's work time now. This is, again, going back to work like you work out. Some people are really particular about the clothes that they wear when they exercise. And if that's you, also be particular about the clothes that you wear when you work. Okay, so the third tactic I want you to learn, I learned from a brilliant friend who has achieved incredible things in his career. And the idea is to use different soundtracks for different tasks. This will help cue your brain. So the idea is you give your brain context for what needs to happen through using different playlists. This might be context of right now it's time to clean, or it might be right now it's time to sleep, or it might be right now it's time to work. And you use a specific playlist for all those different tasks. So I have a cleaning playlist, I have a sleeping playlist, and I have a work playlist. I've been testing this out ever since I learned this from my friend, and it's been so incredibly helpful. When I need to be focused, when I need to be on, I turn on my work playlist and I just get things done. It cues to my brain that right now is work time. My favorite work playlists are listening to Hans Zimmer music. He is a composer for movies. He did the movies like Inception, Interstellar, a bunch of movies that you've definitely heard of. And so I usually just listen to the Inception playlist as I work. Your brain has 2 primary modes. It has the default mode network and it has the task positive network. And what I found is that the default mode network is where all your creativity lives. There's a lot of really positive things that happen there, but it's also where the rumination lives. It's also where the inner critic lives. And so this is the part of your brain that's thinking about like, you're not good enough. This is not going to be good. You shouldn't even start this. But that part of the brain cannot be activated at the same time as the task positive network. The task positive network is the part of your brain that helps you get into flow. It's the part that's activated when you're in a task and you're focusing. And so I like to use this as a way of whenever that inner critic is going wild, all the inner thoughts are going crazy, I'm ruminating about them, I try to just get myself focused and in a task because it shuts down all that conversation in my head. So turning on your work playlist, getting focused is going to help you get a lot done in a much faster period of time. Okay, so to recap what we've talked about, first of all, I want you to think about the kind of job you want to do in the space that you're in. Try to not mix spaces very often. Try to have an eating space, a working space, a resting space, and don't mix the context. When you do that, your brain will understand that this is my working space. And in your working space, try to let yourself be focused and on whenever you're sitting at your desk. As soon as your mind starts to wander, you start to get distracted, go someplace else and let yourself rest, let yourself take a break so that when you're at your desk, you're totally focused, you're ready to perform. Second, try out clothing. Is there a piece of clothing that you have that makes you feel on, that makes you feel focused, that makes you feel ready? Maybe it's glasses, maybe it's a blazer, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a certain pair of shoes that you wear that nobody else knows, but you know that that's how you are focused. And lastly, try using the same playlist for specific tasks. Have one playlist for cleaning, one playlist for when you're getting ready to go to sleep, one playlist for when you're driving, one playlist for when you're working. It's a simple trick that will help cue your brain to get into that mode really quickly. If this resonated, I would love for you to leave a review. Feel free to like, subscribe, or even better, send it to an ambitious friend who you know could use it. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.